Braselton, Georgia is a small town here in North Georgia that actually spans the Jackson, Barrow, Gwinnett, and Hall County areas. That's right, four different counties. Don't let this fool you though. It's actually a pretty small town with a population of about 13,000. And so if you look at Braselton on a map, you can see that the town is kind of split into 3 different areas. And it also stretches over a good bit of land without actually being a very big town. I don't know how it does that. The biggest chunk is located along I-85 and Highway 53, and then you have another chunk right there along 211. And then that third chunk kind of combines Beaufort and Flowery Branch and the west end of town. So Braselton is a very popular area because it has a small town southern charm to it, but the majority of it sits right off I-85 South, so you can easily drive straight down into Atlanta, which is about 40 miles away. Braselton is a very popular town for young families because it has received the title of Georgia's safest town several times, and it has a very low crime rate, hence the safest town. It's also home to several 55 plus communities and a ton of healthcare options. So what will it cost you to live in Braselton? We all know and love, if you've watched my videos, that I use bestplaces.net as a website that breaks down the cost of living in towns all across the US. This website uses a scale of 100 to describe the overall cost of living in an area compared to the national average. When we look at the state of Georgia as a whole, it has a score of 93, which is obviously below the national average of 100. Braselton, on the other hand, received a score of 106, which is obviously higher than both the state and national average. However, if you compare Braselton's score to most of the other towns we talk about, let's just say like Alpharetta, for instance, they have a score of almost 125. Suwanee has a score of almost 117. So therefore, this kind of puts Braselton definitely on the lower end for the towns that are in the Northeast Metro Atlanta area. But what brings Braselton's ranking over the national average? What causes it to be more expensive than the national average? Well, if you've watched any of my videos lately, I'm sure you can guess it. It is home prices. On Best Places, Braselton received a score of 125 in the housing category. The median price of a home right now is $407,000, which is nearly a 27% increase over last year. Currently, the average home sits on the market for only 9 days. And just for perspective, in February of 2020, the average was 59 days on the market. There were only 39 homes listed for sale in the MLS system for Braselton in January, right at the time of filming this video. So, as you've seen me in my other videos mention, inventory is so low right now. Another kicker currently, of those homes listed for sale, 14 of them are listed for over $1 million. Obviously, that eliminates over 1/3 of the available houses for most buyers. All of these homes that are in that $1 million price point are located in Chateau Elan, which we've talked about here on the channel before. It's a winery and resort in Braselton that also has a cluster of gated communities, which, all of these sprawling estates and those, high-priced homes, they're going to cost you a pretty penny to live in that neighborhood. There are also several 55 plus communities in Braselton, and these come with a notoriously heavy price tag as well. For example, you have this 3-bedroom home, 2 bathrooms, just under 1,900 square feet in Chateau Elan Del Webb, which is a fantastic 55 plus community here in the area, and this home is listed at $588,000. You are going to find that in our current market, it's almost impossible to find a home in a 55 plus community for less than $400,000, but that's a whole nother topic for another day, a great video that will be coming your way sometime soon. There are some more reasonable options in Braselton outside of Chateau Elan. Obviously, we have like this cute 2-story home on an unfinished basement that was just recently listed for $430,000. I'm sure it'll probably go under contract for higher than that. What do you think? Absolutely. But at least there are options. This home just hit the market this week. It is a ranch on an unfinished basement with a finished bonus room, which would be referred to as an absolute unicorn in our area. This home is listed at $369,000. And like all the homes these days, and especially for this unicorn, it's pretty safe to assume that it's going to draw offers well over asking price. Aside from the cost of a home in Braselton, you're also going to need to consider property taxes and HOA fees. If you're considering one of the 55 plus communities, you'll need to account for somewhere around $3,000 per year in fees depending upon which community you end up in. Now these fees are going to go towards covering your lawn maintenance, all the awesome neighborhood amenities, and so on. Then you have Chateau Elan's HOA fees. Those are around $2,000 per year, and they could be higher depending upon which section of the neighborhood you're in. And of course, most other neighborhoods are going to have an HOA fee, but it's going to be a fraction of that cost. You're looking at somewhere closer to $500 to $900 per year. Now in Georgia, property taxes are based on the assessed value of the property, so this is something else to think about when you're choosing a home in Braselton. However, one of the great things about Georgia is though that you do get a break on your property taxes, especially if you are a senior. You can save anywhere between 30 to 40% on your property taxes because you do not have to pay the school portion of your taxes, which is quite a bit here in Georgia for most people. If you want to learn more about how property taxes work here in Georgia, you can check out this video and I'm going to explain all about that process to you. Now, one category that Braselton receives a great ranking in is healthcare, and that comes in at a score of 91, so below the national average. So not only is it ranked as affordable, but you don't have to drive far at all to see a doctor of any kind. Braselton has a new hospital, which is a branch of the Northeast Georgia Medical Center. They also have an urgent care, an imaging center, diagnostic clinic. Plus you've got pediatrics office, dermatologist, primary care, eye doctor, joint, spine, OBGYN, and more. All within about a 5-minute drive of each other. So all of these options are definitely a huge reason why young families and retirees alike are living in this area. Braselton received a score of 99 in the groceries category, which is one thing this town majorly lacks. As I mentioned earlier, the town is kind of spread out in separate chunks, and within those chunks, there are not a ton of grocery stores. The portion of town that sits on Highway 211 does have a Publix, and then you have the part that sits on the end of 53 doesn't really have a grocery store. So the town is kind of spread out and you are closer to several other towns that are going to give you more options, but it's definitely a downside that you have to go to another town to get your groceries. There's not a Target in Braselton, which we talk about a lot here. We know that Targets are important to me, and I'm sure for most of my clients, they kind of want to know, how far am I going to be from a Target? You also are not going to find a Walmart or an Aldi. There is a Kroger somewhat nearby. And so if those stores are important to you, you'll either have to go into Flowery Branch, Oakwood, or Buford to get to any of these things. But it's just a short drive, so it's not that far away. One thing Braselton does have is more fast food options that you can shake a stick at, both on the 53 side and on the 211 side. And then you have some really great local options in downtown Braselton, like the Galloping Galette, Local Station, and Braselton Brewery. So gas prices in Braselton are pretty on par with the rest of North Georgia. Currently, a gallon of gas is $3.15 in Braselton, which compared to the national average of about $3.42. On the day of filming this video, it's obviously well below that. And like I mentioned in all my cost of living videos, here in North Georgia, you are more than likely going to need a car to get around. Well, you are going to need a car because there's basically no public transportation to speak of. So I can't say it's an absolute necessity, but it's a necessity. Someone commented on one of my videos recently and said that they lived and worked in Jefferson and didn't have a car. Obviously, there are other modes of transportation like biking or walking or relying on the use of a friend or family member, but my point is you're not going to have public buses or trains to get around, so you're most likely going to need a car if you don't want to rely on others to drive you around. Despite steeper home prices and lack of, grocery stores and things like that, comparatively, Braselton is on the more affordable side, and it's definitely a great town to consider if you're thinking about relocating here to the Northeast Metro Atlanta area. Of course, if you're thinking about moving anywhere around here, you have to reach out to myself and my team. We help clients from all across the country relocate and make Georgia their home. You can find our contact information below. And of course, if you're thinking about checking out Braselton some more, you have to check out this pros and cons video of Braselton. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the comments below.